These days, sales requires much more strategy, much more like different warm up strategies. There's so many more channels, so many more touch points. Like you have to be really smart about it instead of just going to somebody and knocking on the door, right? Either that's a person or a business.
Okay, so today with us in the Startup Sales Talks podcast, we have a very, very exciting guest, Kotryna. She's a CEO of LinkedIn agency Linkedist. They are working with many startups, with many tech companies all across the globe, and we're very, very excited to have you today. So, how do you feel, Kotryna?
Hello, I feel great. I'm excited to talk with you and hopefully share some good sales practices and tactics. So I'm excited.
Great. So yeah, we are going today focus on how to leverage LinkedIn for your sales as a founder, as a sales exec. So Kotryna has really, really great tips to share with you guys today. But first of all, let's start with your background. So tell us about your journey, how you became a CEO and founder of your agency. What was your path?
So I would say, and as that's something I would usually answer, is that it was very demand driven. So to say, it means that when I was just dipping my toes into marketing and really looking for, exploring the marketing topics. At the same time, I was working with sales teams in my previous organization and helping them, coaching them on lead gen through content creation as well. And back then, like it was more than 7 8 years ago, and not really a lot of people knew what was personal branding, neither that it could also help with sales and how you can do that, right? So I was working at that company, and then very naturally started creating content myself, started learning more about this platform, which is like the biggest professionals platform in the world, biggest social network. And very naturally, other people started asking me if I can help them with LinkedIn or consultations, or look at their processes. And that's how the idea for Linkedist came into place. And as I mentioned, it was very demand driven. So we saw that there was a need in the market with my previous co-founder, and we thought it would be great to take this niche.
Okay, great. And can you share your, pivotal experience in your early career that shaped your approach in sales and motivated to start your own business in general?
So, what shaped my experience in regards to sales, right?
Yes.
I would say, like when you're starting your own business, naturally, even if it's around the topic of marketing, you're still have to know a lot about sales, and naturally, you are becoming the salesperson at the same time, right? No matter what you're starting, even if you're starting like a B2C brand or a B2B brand, but you're still the one who's selling, you're still the one who's advertising, you're still the one who's going to all those networking meetings. So, I would say, like personally, uh, I had like most of my experience was lying within marketing, but at the same time, since I was selling myself and my own services, I started going into the sales and also coaching sales and working with sales in my previous company. And then I would, when I started the business, I also took a degree, a master's degree in sales management, which is one of the only ones there is in Europe. It's at Copenhagen Business School. It's very new, just a few years old, and during that degree, of course, I was building my business. So the degree was only to learn something new around sales to support the business. I really learned a lot of tactics, like worked with cold outreach and other techniques, which helped me to shape what I have today, the knowledge that I have today, right? And I think it was naturally like talking with other salespeople that are much more knowledgeable than I am, and hearing their techniques, hearing their strategies, reading some books. All of that like shaped me into the person that I am today.
Okay, very interesting. It's the first time I'm hearing about this program. To be honest with you, is it getting popular in general
I
in the
would
world?
say I would say slowly, because naturally from like the back in the days, sales position is and was not really perceived like as a elite, so to say, because in a lot of the times it was like door to door sales, or some kind of sales where a salesperson is portrayed as like an annoying person, right? So that comes to you and tries to sell something to you, which meant that for many years it was like not so popular as to have even a degree in it, because it was perceived in a wrong way. But right now I feel like it's shifting, and what we're seeing is that more and more universities also understand the importance of sales and the importance of salespeople in any business, because without salespeople you don't have like business going. So yeah, I think it's changing, and especially for example in Lithuania and KTU, there's already like a small course, and they're working on bringing like a full on program in the next years.
That's actually great development because in the sales world we always have a lack of certain people, and especially right now, RevOps, revenue operations, and sales operations is really people that you need. So if someone is listening from the higher education institutions, this is a place to go for sure. And the world is changing. Sales, is a bringing blood to the company, right? Revenue is like blood for the company. If you don't have blood, you're going to die. So it's the most
Yeah.
important metric. Okay.
Maybe I can add one more thing, is that like back in the day sales was very direct, and sometimes still is, right? Like it depends on the industry and the approach. But I would imagine like these days sales requires much more strategy, much more like different warm up strategies. There's so many more channels, so many more touch points. Like you have to be really smart about it instead of just going to somebody and knocking on the door, right? Either that's a person or a business. So yeah, I think it definitely needs more education on it, because it's getting more like strategic with every year.
Yes, and it's changing so much. Maybe a lot of people don't know this, but my both parents work in sales for 20 plus years. And I needed to explain them 1 year ago what is LinkedIn, because they never knew how to utilize that platform. And when they started to doing that, kind of it changed everything for them. So definitely, that's a ever changing world. And let's deep dive a bit into the strategies and how to utilize LinkedIn for startups. So, what is the unique sales strategies have you found the most effective on LinkedIn, specifically for startups?
Mm-hmm. So there are a few ways how you can look at this, and I will try to like put them into a few boxes. So one way how you can grow, which is the easiest explained, is like paid. So it's the most straightforward way. If you have a lot of capital, if you have a lot of budget, and you want to reach your audience without a lot of hustle, put your money into some LinkedIn ads, Google ads, and well, if we're staying on LinkedIn, that is only LinkedIn ads. And there you go, right? You're attracting some people, somebody is clicking, somebody is signing up lead gen forms. Like this is very straightforward, but I would not recommend going with this strategy, because in most cases, like startups don't have the capital. So what do they do then, right? So if you don't have a lot of capital and you're just starting out and you want to get traction with your first product or your service, another way how you can do that is through content creation. Now, content creation is more like of an inbound way to generate leads, because it won't necessarily get you leads right away. And sometimes you might have to connect with new people, write messages, leave comments, build your own brand. And then after a while, it starts coming to you. So if your goal is like a long term strategy of lead gen, then you can start working on the content, and maybe also some people will come right away. Maybe somebody needs that service at the moment, but in general it's like, so you're building something, you're building your funnel for the future. Whereas if you're doing cold outreach, which is using either Sales Navigator or like third-party tools, other softwares or programs, that's like a more direct approach, and that can generate leads faster. And you can experiment a lot with your messaging and like see what works, what doesn't. So if you need like leads for the next day, I would say go ahead with cold outreach, though it still requires a lot of effort and personalization. And Thomas, you know this even way better than me, so you know what I'm talking about. But if you want to build for the long term, it's content creation. So I would say three different strategies: outreach, content creation, and paid ads.
Okay, I will play a bit of the devil's advocate. When I speak with founders, they always tell me, I don't have time. I don't have time to create content. I have a lot of on my plate. What kind of advice would you give for that kind of founder? Right. So, is there any tools to use that can make a process more efficient, or any specific frameworks to kind of save time and to still be active on LinkedIn and to push content on a constant basis?
So we have a lot of good ebooks. So that's the first way you can get inspired by already like the different ebooks ideas, for content that are written in there that we have at Linked. But another way how you can do that is, of course, first of all, you need to make sure that this platform works for you. If you are not cleaning up your newsfeed and not having like people that are interesting and posting a lot about the topics that you care, I would say like it will be difficult for you to post yourself. So first of all, clean up your newsfeed, follow people who are interesting and exciting and are posting about the topics that you care. That will give you inspiration and motivation to start yourself. And the next thing, like as for the platforms and softwares, um, if it's really difficult and there's no way how you can do this yourself, of course call us. But in another way, there's a platform called Taplio, and Taplio is like a place where you can, I think it's like 50 or 60 euros per month, and you get like content inspirations, you see like viral posts from specific topics. You also get AI generated posts yourselves. So there's lots of ways there. And then also Linkedist, we are actually building a GPT model called Ava, and it will be launched pretty soon, and it will be like a free model that will generate LinkedIn posts for you. So lots of ways.
Good to know. Good to
Yeah.
know. Okay, great. And can you give a very specific case study, an example from your career when you started to work with a founder, or team in the startup, and you saw major breakthrough in terms of lead gen, in terms of brand awareness, and other things?
Yeah, so there were like many multiple times, more occasions where it helped the company itself. Like, so not necessarily from the person's profile, but from the company's page. But yes, so working with people, we had various results from the content that we were posting from their profiles, or that we were coaching them and they were posting themselves. One was that one of our clients, got invited to do a TEDx speech in Lithuania, which was like 3 months after his, the beginning of content creation, which was like amazing. He never thought he can do that, or he could get such results. Then with another companies and other people, of course, we've gotten leads. So like people either directly messaging the person or filling out the contact form on the LinkedIn page for the company page. What else? Another person got invited to go to Davos while the World Economic Forum is happening. Another exciting story was that, and I think I already told you this one, but was where, a person leaves a comment and then somebody like with a very high profile finds the comment, emails, writes a message to that person, and can really change a lot of things for your startup. So I think the like talking about these case studies, eventually something happens, you know. I always say the more like puddles you make in the water, the more like ripples you make, something happens anyways. So like my approach and the approach that we take with the client is that let's do as many things as we can, like post wise, comments wise, connection wise, and then something will eventually happen. And the beauty is that you never know what will happen, whether it's like a client or invitation to a like a very close knit event or something
Mhm.
else, you know.
Yeah, well said. And what kind of common mistakes do you see that people make on the LinkedIn while trying to, push the content?
I would say like content wise, being too salesy. That sounds, you know, on a sales podcast, that sounds like something you should not say. But being too salesy with your content is really not a go, because I feel like on LinkedIn people are very smart, and they are, and they're very, you know, like choosing with the post that they engage with. So if they see that you are straightly just promoting something, they're not going to engage, and like your post is going to flop. So the beauty of good sales posts is that you actually, you know, write a copy that interesting that it sells for you, basically, right? And then you don't do like direct sales with your content. And another big mistake with like people just in general being on LinkedIn is that they push people, like push their products or services to people in the first message without even knowing if a person needs it, or like, you know, I even get like every single week at least one message to buy LinkedIn courses or like to optimize my profile or something else, even though I work with that myself, you know. So that really shows how bad it can be sometimes.
Yes, and it's so easy to recognize automated LinkedIn messages as well. What do you think about those, actually, the LinkedIn automation tools? Because a lot of salespeople love it. But what is your take on that in general?
Hey, you know, I'm all for automation. I mean, I'm all for like innovations, finding different tools to help you with your processes, to help you, you know, be faster in your work. Like, so I'm all hands down for it. um I just really think, and I every time like I do a workshop, I'm, you know, saying that you should always use your head still while you're using those tools, and make sure that you are, you know, having a good message. I think that's like the core of it, you know. You can use all these tools, but at the end of the day, if you have like a wrong message, you will get no response, and you know, there's no good outcome. So I think like using a good strategy, using some tools, putting them together, maybe like using a tool after an event to outreach people and thank them, or something else, like it can be really powerful.
Hmm. Yeah, and my maybe personal advice learned in a hard way is that do not over push the limits of those tools. Keep it lower than maybe 20 messages per day or 20 invitations, because you can get suspended pretty
Yes.
quickly.
I call it LinkedIn prison, you know.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. And let's imagine that we have three types of startups, right? One startup works in with the CMOs, for example, of tech companies, right? Everyone is
Mhm.
on LinkedIn. It's easy to get in touch with them, right? Let's imagine two other startups that works, for example, in real estate and in the medical field,
Mm.
right? More like a conservative industries,
Mhm.
old school. So how the founder or startup should adjust their LinkedIn based on the vertical and industry?
First of all, I would start by just trying to understand how many of my potential leads are on LinkedIn. Because sometimes they're not. Like, there are some industries, like mostly B2C, of course, but also some B2B, where I cannot say it right now. Maybe it could be something like oil, or some very like niche specific industries where people are just not really there, and that's okay. So I would first try to see, okay, how many people, who are they? Are they maybe just people from the administration who are on LinkedIn, right? um, Knowing where your target audience is, that's the first step. And then depending on the vertical, i would I would still try to see, like, okay, so where do those people hang out? Like, they still go to some conferences maybe, or some events or something, and I would try to maybe bring this like hybrid approach of doing outreach but joining them at events as well, and suggesting to meet in real life. um and then I would see like what are the other ways to reach them. Maybe sometimes the decision makers are not on LinkedIn, like C-level management from those industries like medical or another, but then the influencers are there, the middle management, the entry level people, so you can connect with them and then see if they can influence or get you a meeting with the C-level. So that's how I would approach this situation.
Okay, got it. And talking about influencers, do you find them an effective kind of tool or methodology to buy advertisement from them and to push your product to for the audience?
So now you're talking about like real influencers, right? Like people who are creating content on LinkedIn, right?
Yes, and sometimes I see that they push some kind of product, and it's obvious that it's not their product, and they're not working in the team, right, of that particular
Hmm.
company. But someone, just bought an advertisement through
Hmm.
them. Do you find this an effective strategy in general?
So one thing and one new feature that LinkedIn is implementing, and it's already there, I believe, but not in Europe yet. It's coming. It will be where every single post will have an option to say that it's a paid partnership, and you will be able to choose like a partner
Mm.
that paid for your post, just like on Instagram. So this is coming to LinkedIn as well, and we will see more and more of this. So what I think of it is like, if you have an audience which is excited to hear from you about specific tools or specific news within the industry, I mean, why not to benefit from it yourself and advertise something that you tried and liked. you know I am not really keen on like just simply advertising for the sake of it, because people will see it. But if you tried it yourself, if you like it, if you're using it, I would say why not? I mean, it's like another channel, So, yeah, that's my
And
take
the
on it.
reach might be massive one, right? ROI can be really off the charts.
Yeah, I mean, I have like a friend who charged 10K euros for a single post, and he also had some posts which just a singular post. Like I have over 1.5 million views per year. He had one post over 1 million views on LinkedIn. So, I mean, I understand why he does it, and it makes total sense because it's like a vast
Yeah.
audience of people who follow finance and follow him because of finance. So, you're really targeting like finance people with your specific product. That's amazing.
That's bonkers actually. I think I
Mhm.
know the guy.
You might know him.
Okay, got it. And we started to talk a bit of the LinkedIn features and what's coming new to the platform. So anything, Kotryna, you want to share with our audience? What's coming for the platform? Like where the platform is moving and what kind of features we can expect in the near future?
So definitely more features around like analyzing your analytics, because I think like that was quite of a minus for some years on LinkedIn compared to other social medias. Now you can see more and more of different analytics, like who views your profile from where, and more of it. What else is that? Of course, we're seeing some AI features being integrated into the platform already in regards to HR, like interviews. but also probably in the future around sales. So Sales Navigator should probably get some AI features in the future, and I cannot wait to see what happens there. So I think like it will, continue changing as a platform bit by bit. Nothing too major, but like these small features to help us, either hire faster or do sales faster.
Got it. And in terms of the social media landscape, is it true that LinkedIn is one of the fastest growing social media kind of platforms in the world right now?
I would say it's probably one of the top ones still because I mean it's still growing very steadily. Like compared to other platforms, they grew, they had their like peak, then they started slowing down. LinkedIn is still growing at the same pace as it was like the last 5 years. Whereas if you look at Facebook, maybe Instagram, it depends, sometimes like especially Facebook is not like experiencing the same growth as like 5-10 years ago. So it's growing steadily, which is something that I like about this platform. And even though there are like other smaller social medias like Threads by Instagram, or some other ones like popping once in a while, um, like Be Real, for example, right? But it's more for people's expression, and it's more for like visuals. So there's not another single one like professionals platform as strong as LinkedIn.
Yeah, it's a clear leader, I think, in the market, and probably, yeah, they're just running with it. Got it. And let's go back a bit to the, how to leverage LinkedIn for the sales teams. So, what is your perspective, and like what kind of best practices you would offer to the startup sales team selling a software, for example, in order to maximize the platform for them? Not only the one person, but for the whole team, right? It makes things a bit different.
Yeah, so in this case, I would first of all try to see like what's the funnel that they have, and they should probably, my advice would be not to only use LinkedIn, but like use multi-channel approach and email and all of that.
Amen.
But just, looking at LinkedIn itself, I would say I would suggest either using Sales Navigator as a team to have a package and see what everybody's working on, or use another third party like CRM/outreach tool to join the efforts, because I feel like that's sometimes missing. Whereas you have a team of people, they're working on selling. I know everybody has their own bonuses and their own targets, but at the same time, I think it's like really important to align everybody together. So I would advise on either using Sales Navigator Teams or another tool to uh, do this together and actually find like in the fastest way what works. Which message works, what generates those leads, and then inspire each other with like content competitions and writing content themselves.
Good one. Good one. Yeah, and I think right now, if I'm not mistaken, you can even connect your sales navigator with your CRM system.
Hmm.
That makes a big difference. And other thing, at least from my side, is that your teammates can reshare your content to their own network, and that's how you can maximize, I think, the reach and the impressions in the relatively easy way. So
100%.
And talking about where everything is moving, so right now you can connect to your CRM system, you're creating your audience, you are kind of using this as a lead generation tool. What do you think, what is the future of selling on the LinkedIn? Like, what kind of vision do you have where the things are moving for upcoming 5 or 10 years, how the landscape will change in general? And I guess LinkedIn will be one of those factors.
Who? Yeah, I mean, I think we will be fighting for personalization because there, with the new wave of technologies coming along, it's amazing. I'm all for it, as you know, but at the same time, there's more. rubbish. There's more scams, there's more like fake messaging and whatnot. So with all the tools comes new responsibilities, and I feel like sales managers and salespeople will have to really dig even deeper to find a way to stand out, which is not gonna be easier for us. And also to figure out, to like understand if this was actually a personalized message or if this was written by a tool or by
Mhm.
AI. It will be more and more difficult to recognize it, I would say. So maybe in 10 years, a lot of things can happen, but maybe we will be in this place where we have our AI assistants, AI sales assistants talking to each other, making the
Mhm.
first interactions, understanding the problems and issues, and then giving the lead to the sales manager, who then takes over with another sales manager, and then the real people talk. It can be as crazy as that, so let's see.
Yeah, and what I see actually right now is that a lot of platforms, sales intelligence platforms, they leverage the data collection from the LinkedIn. So, for example, if you're thinking about buying CRM system, you're liking Pipedrive, you're liking Salesforce, and they're getting that data, and it shows that okay, that person is looking for a solution, and that data is coming, buyer intent data coming from the LinkedIn itself, right? So it's really, really getting advanced. Yeah, and I think you're completely right. I couldn't agree more that everybody will be fighting for attention because it's way easier to monetize the attention instead of buying attention.
Yeah.
So that's important to understand as well. So Kotryna, you've been hustling for years now. You have your own business. You're really crushing your sales. As far as I asked you about your results in 2023, so you're doing extremely well. And I guess you're always trying to keep up with the your kind of motivation and with the newest things, right? How you learn in general, like what is your learning platforms, maybe materials, books, like what you do in order to stay on the top of your game.
Yeah, I mean, I listen to like different podcasts, but I would not say that I have something in particular around sales. So it's more like scattered. I really like a podcast called The Best One Yet, which is giving you like a rundown of like all the latest things around startups and sales and biz dev in the US. Another thing is that in regards to the books, I would recommend like two books. One book is called Ego is the Enemy by Ryan Holiday. He's like a stoic kind of a person. And I think it's good for any kind of a salesperson because as people, we all have egos. And it's really like giving you a perspective into how to work with other people, how to tame your ego, how to find solutions. So that's like one of the best books I've read. And then another one for like the startup founders and in general salespeople that work in startups is also called CEO Next Door. Even if it's mainly for CEOs, it can be really beneficial for any person. It's written by Powell, and it's my favorite book of all time. I'm trying to read it every 5 years. So yeah, these would be my top recommendations. And then again, I follow people on Twitter, on LinkedIn, like who are inspirational, who are further than me in their career, and that really gives me like motivation and new knowledge.
Okay, great. I need to put those books in my wish list on my
Yeah, I
Kindle
can I
for
can give
sure.
it to you also, to borrow if you want.
That's even better. Okay, got it. And Kotryna, as you know, sales is tough, tough work, mentally and physically. And a lot of sales people, especially in the early careers, they struggle a lot. They have a bad day. They want to drop everything, right? And we usually what they need some kind of good mentorship or the philosophy, and it really helps for you to push through, right? So what kind of philosophy you have in sales, and how you push through those downturns, because in sales you constantly being rejected, and every person has a different different fun kind of method to cope with that.
Mm-hmm. So I would suggest two things, like two advice. Listen and be like a chameleon. So listen, I mean that what I'm trying to do is I'm always listening to what the other person is saying. And I met some salespeople who talk more than their leads or who talk more than their potential
Mhm.
clients. And that's never like a good strategy because you're just overwhelming another person with lots of information. So I think for the people who are beginning their journey or are in the midst of it, listening to another person and trying to remind yourself, just, be calm, listen to the words that the person is mentioning. Maybe they're struggling with something else. And maybe at that point, you can't sell them your solution, but you can help that person with something else and then maybe gain the trust and build a relationship, right? So, listening is important, sales strategy. And then be like a chameleon. It's very easy, like I usually adapt to people when I'm talking to them. So within the first 5 to 10 minutes, you can really get the sense of a person, whether they're very direct or whether they're very practical or whether they want to hear more about you as a person first and then talk business. So I being like learning how to identify these personas is very useful and will help you along your way of working within sales, because you will understand every single person. So, and then trying to adjust yourself towards that situation is what makes the deal, at least in my most of my cases.
Yeah, it's called mirroring technique, right? That you're
Yeah.
trying to mirror the tone and everything. It
Yeah.
makes a difference. It's very, very actually effective in call calling in general. So good tip. Yeah, and talking too much is probably the most rookie mistakes I ever seen in my career.
Yeah.
Always. Got it. So, Kotryna, thanks a lot for your insights and sharing your experience. Is there anything else that you want to share about your agency and Linkedis? What is coming? Maybe some exciting news. You already mentioned the LLM, right? But is there anything else to share with our audience?
I think like we are working with trying to find even better ways how especially startups can become better and grow with this platform, right? So I think within the next year, again, we will launch a lot of new ebooks about different strategies and how you can actually benefit from this platform, because for most it's still very much a sales tool that's lying there in the corner and not being used. So I think like a lot of new ebooks. Stay tuned, follow Linkedist, and you'll get to see what we're building.
Got it. Great. And what is the best way to get in touch with you?
So of course through LinkedIn, or you can shoot me an
Obviously.
email via Kotryna at linkedis.com, and we'll be there to answer your questions.
Great. So thanks a lot, Katrina. Have a nice day ahead and see you soon.
Thank you so much for having me today, and I hope that people will definitely hear this podcast and be motivated from it. So thank you again.
Okay, bye bye.
Bye.